and that's going to be to my kind of a judgment onto the dollars pairs as well that's coming up. So me personally, dollar index, I'm still seeing not much kind of a bullish activity. Okay, I'm not seeing that bullish move. Right, I'm still seeing this as a potential down move and then continue lower. Right, this is kind of what I'm seeing current kind of market condition. I was looking for a buy. If you guys recall that I was looking for a buy correction and then looking for this impulse, looking for a correction, but price did not push up. Instead, we just had this more of an impulse now, correction and then impulse. So anything can happen here. Anything can happen here. Can form a little correction down to the bottom. That is kind of what I see more that can happen. Okay, I really don't see the bullish move. I know some of you guys do see the bullish on this, but unless we're seeing some sort of a channel that's developing something like this, okay, so extension of this, but because we're trickling down so much already compared to if this was the impulse and this is a correction, we're pretty much going back to the previous low already. And that's why I don't really see that. I'm more seeing this that can continue lower and then heading a double bottom going to see the next up move. Okay, I don't see the up move going from this point forward. And that's why I'm a little bit hesitant on some of the dollar pairs, which I know you guys are looking at. And let's take a look at a few of these. Okay, let's jump into a few dollar pairs. And thanks for helping me set up for the week. Yeah, no problem. Let's get to it, right? So Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar is currently in this kind of correction kind of structure here. I know you guys are looking at this one and Kiwi dollar. So let's look at this really more closely, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on this. There is a very potential short, okay, but is it ready now or is it ready in a few days or 1 or 2 more weeks? It's a little bit unclear. The reason why I'm more leaning towards this is that overall, when we look at the price action, right, we have this ascending channel, we had this first impulse out, right? This is a pretty clear impulse out of this higher time frame correction. And when I thought this should be all the correction it is for this down move, but it turns out it's not. You see why you guys knew that we were getting into the sell here and then made a little bit of money like this. But the point is, it didn't break this previous low. Okay, and what I thought this would be the impulse to be continue this bearish move turns out to be a little bit more complicated, meaning that this is not all the correction it means. It's likely to be making more correction now for the downside, and that this will not be just that first move to the downside. Okay, because this move is so sharp. Okay, you have to understand that this overall kind of the price action can evolve, meaning that this may not just be the down move coming down, but we can see a little bit more complicated structure. Who knows, that price can continue trickles up, and then we evolve into the structure because that's evolving, right? Because you can see the structure can evolve into something like this, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? You can see that if this is what the price will be moving out, then we see this as an impulse and then a larger correction before the downside. Okay, so that's a possibility, something that we have to keep in mind, that structure can evolve, right? Just as we're seeing a down move doesn't mean this has to go now. Okay, doesn't mean that. So if you're looking at this, I would say that give it a little bit more development, so to speak. Is it going to continue lower and then a correction to happen? Or if you're going to get into something like that, you got reward for you to get down because this is all previous low point, right? If it's going to find a bottom once again, then you're likely to going to see this another up move like this and then continue downwards. That's why I'm a little bit hesitant on these dollars, okay? And the Kiwi dollar is probably the one that you guys talk about. You guys are looking at Kiwi dollar, and yes, I do agree this can be a very good short move. Okay, I see the structure overall that's making everyone, I'm sure everyone's looking at it the same way. We had this impulse out of this higher time frame correction, and then currently down to lower time frame, you're pretty much seeing this kind of ascending channel structure within this overall kind of parallel channel structure. So this is all good, right? And you can see that price is somewhat corrective in this area, and don't get trapped in this consolidation, as I always talk about. Wait for that confirmation breakout, making this head and shoulder pattern, and then waiting for a correction here would be the more ideal sell. Okay, so don't get stuck in this correction. If you're looking for the sell, wait for that first confirmation would be more ideal. Now that everyone is looking at, I'm going to share that is also what I'm potentially looking at, but also that I'll give you guys another way of looking at this is that no, same thing with Aussie dollar, that just because it's forming this ascending channel, just because overall price condition, be surprised if you start seeing price continue trickles up, because you understand that structure. Again, just like Aussie dollar, it can evolve, right? So who to say that this is all the structure it's making? We're just evolving the structure now. It becomes something like this, and then price continue moving to the top, double top, and still coming down. You're looking at the higher time frame, you can see that it can just continue onwards for a little bit while, right? Nothing wrong with the structure, ascending channel structure, once it's finished, you can get the next impulse. Okay, so because the structure we can't show here on the lower time frame, the probable case is what everyone's looking at. This can be the downward move, right? But just keep in mind that that can also happen. What I did, the scenario I just talked about as well, right? So that's also a risk you guys have to understand. Just like the structure, you can just tell that up into more structure, but then the down move is still going to happen once this correction is over. Okay, so that's what I see on Kiwi dollar. COT report on dollar is also bearish, more net short. Yeah, so we'll see, and then we'll go from there, right? And that's why waiting for the confirmation. If you're looking for sell, like I said, I would personally just wait for that confirmation impulse on the lower time frame. Okay, and then the last piece of the confirmation, just wait for a correction continuation of this down move. Then you're easily going to get 3-to-1 here, and that's where I would take consideration where price would do at the bottom if you're going to get in the sell, because if you notice, all these previous time when the price reached the bottom, it's reversing back up, right? So who to say reversing back up again? So that's Kiwi dollar. You guys mentioned pound dollar, euro dollar. I'm not really seeing much, guys. I'm not seeing much at all when price is in this condition. Recall when I was looking for a sell in I was looking for the down move like this, but you can see similarly price did not continue. It didn't even hit the previous low, and then we have this bounce up again. So it's just going to be the more complicated, more deeper kind of a correction now. So I'm not likely to touch it. I want to see a little bit more development. It's a little do. Of course, if it continued to the top once more, potentially forming some sort of M style pattern at the top of the structure, I would consider something like this. But for now, if it's in this overall kind of consolidation, I'd rather stay out of that. So pound dollar, again, we're seeing price is in a deeper kind of a correction now, right? We're seeing this as a deeper correction. We do have, the top of the structure forming, which is good. That gives you a good kind of more clarity that this is a more of an ascending kind of correction that we could look for the next downside. At the latest price action, I do see a potential development here if it's going to form some sort of correction. This could be a potential sell, but again, you're approaching to the bottom, so that's a risk you gotta understand. And even if it break out here for the sell out of this, and see what the price would do in this overall low, previous low, and low of this overall structure. So that's what I see on pound dollar. A little bit more development for me. Even if it form a correction here, I'm not likely to take if it's going to come off that, right? But I think a little bit more confirmation would be the more ideal case now, because it's still the longer and the deeper when I see these kind of parallel ascending channel structure going, the more precautious I should be, just like the Kiwi dollar, Aussie dollar, because while your buy and sell, your sell mostly is going to be short-lived, and then once typical traders get break even or lost a little bit of money here, and then they will move on from the pair, and once all the entries are done, and then we see the next drop like that. Okay, so nothing changes in terms of price action. We just don't know when and how long this correction will go on for. Let's look at another one. Let's look at dollar CAD. What's my opinion on gold? I'm gonna go over gold after currency, if you don't mind waiting for that. I usually go in order of currency, commodity, equity, and crypto. So I'm gonna go over all the forex first, and then I'll jump into gold after. Okay. So let's look at dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is probably the only one I do see a little bit more bullish potential. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing on a lower time frame. Sorry. Uh, if we're seeing this still the way how I'm seeing from before, that if this is the impulsive move and we have this correction, and if this is the double bottom that I'm seeing here, I'm reason double bottom in, and we are gaining a little bit more bullish activity here now. Finally, right? We have this inverse head and shoulder on the lower time frame. We had this impulse up, and then this is potentially a correction to break out, right? That's why I won't be to enter anything like this. This could be a larger inverse head and shoulder now. So waiting for a bullish breakout, bullish kind of correction would be potential ideal for the buy. Okay, buy to the top and then look to what happened if the price going to continue. But still need a little bit more development. If it starts dropping, obviously I'm not going to be interested. More interested to see what the price would do in this upcoming day or two, and then continually, push up in the bullish move. That is what I see on dollar CAD now. But another scenario, if it's going to start dropping now, then I won't really see the bottom, right? If the price dropped the previous bottom, then that would be a similar buy setup, just like the dollar index I just went over. So two possibilities. We'll just have to observe a little bit more of what the price would do. So dollar CAD, not other dollar pairs I'm really looking at, to be honest. Even dollar Swiss, I'm not. Some of you guys are looking at correction going this way, but again, we're pretty close to the previous bottom, so likely price would just continue to the bottom. That's really how I see price react, and it could just trickle down more and more and more, hitting the bottom, and then see what the price will do. Is it going to get back? And we'll see if we can get in those trades. Other than that, I'm not seeing too much other dollar pairs. Not much on my watch list except just Kiwi dollar maybe, and then Aussie dollar, pound dollar will be secondary. That looks the best in terms of that one that's coming up for the day. But even that, I still want to wait for a little bit more development. Okay. Yeah, morning everyone. Nice to see you guys. Leslie, nice to see you guys. So let's continue. That's dollar yen. I think someone messaged me on dollar yen. Not really looking at this, even the sell. I see why you're looking at it. You see this head and shoulder pattern, and then this was the right shoulder. I'm not sure some of you guys got in this sell, but yeah, it looks clean after. If you see this is the impulse, another correction structure to the lows, right? Only thing because it's already pretty much reaching to the previous low. So I don't think your sell is going to be too much risk reward unless you can get pretty tight stop loss. So the more ideal, you can get a better stop loss like this, and looking for the lows to at least give you 3 to 1 or more. Okay, so that's dollar yen, and that's pretty much all the dollar pair. That's like I said, and yeah, nice to see you guys. By the way, nice to see a couple of things that I'm looking at. Aussie Swiss, okay. So Aussie Swiss, this is going to be similar like Euro Aussie that I'm going to talk about after, but let's talk about Aussie Swiss. So I'm still looking at this as a potential bullish move. Okay, I know some of you guys may see it as bearish, and that's fine, right? And I get some of the comments in there which I'll address in Telegram is that I think some of you guys are asking me, hey, I'm in this trade. Let's say I'm in XXX trade, but Joe, you're looking at it as long. Should I exit my trade for this? Should I exit my sell, or what should I exit? Should I get out of the trade? Thing is, guys, you have to follow your plan or how you want to trade, right? You shouldn't be asking me. I can, because this is what can happen in terms of emotion. Let's give you an example is that if you're in the long, so let's say if you're in the sell, and then I'm saying, oh, the pair could be going up, and then you exit your sell position because based on what I said, are you going to get emotional here now? Are you going to blaming yourself for exiting the trade, or are you going to be blaming me because I'm telling you the wrong information, right? Because there's a lot of emotion that can happen in this one. So you got to think about it this way. And the other side spectrum would be, let's say you didn't listen to me. I mentioned that I'm thinking something's going long and you're going short. and you didn't listen to me, and then you hold your short, and then price reverse, take you out for stop. And are you going to be mad again that you didn't follow what I said, or are you going to be, more emotional now because you should have listened to me, right? Because so you gotta understand that if you enter a trade, make sure you enter, you have a plan, you have a strategy, go with what your analysis is, right? You can use what I'm saying as a guideline, as a good work to balance what you're looking, but don't make a decision based on what I just said. If I'm saying long, but if you're looking at your cell and you have your analysis ready, you're good to go, then follow your plan, right? Because I can be right, be wrong. Okay, I'm not right all the time. Okay, it's not how trading is, right? I can be wrong on my forecast, on my analysis, and I'll go into the trade, and I'm happy to save my 1% or whatever, right? So let's continue. Aussie Swiss, I'm looking at it as a potential long. Zoom out here on, I still see this as a pretty strong bullish move, and then we're just being very corrective price action. And this is what I kind of showed me that when we're at the top here, we had this impulsive move, correction, and impulse, breaking the previous low. Okay, and normally this is where price should continue. Okay, this is normal continuation correction to push lower, but instead we did not see that, right? We see price break the low, very sharp move, right? Usually should follow by a correctional structure to push down, but instead we had this reversal impulse on the lower time frame, and then first was, and then I got out of this trade because uh, once price hit the impulse up and it just quickly retraced back down, breaking the previous low, and I knew a larger structure is likely to be making. Okay, larger kind of structure, just like the previous structure. And look at it, it's very, very similar. Can continue upwards like this. Okay, and this is why the higher time frame, looking at the higher time frame, giving you a little bit more bias and clarity of what it may do. Okay, you can see similar price action before, right? If we look at the 1 hour here, we zoom just out back in here, and you see the same thing. We had this bullish impulse, and then head and shoulder pattern, and then you see this drop, right, followed by right shoulder. And that's just pretty much mimic oppositely of what we're seeing right now from here, right? We had the same kind of impulse, but it's bearish impulse now, and then left shoulder, head, right shoulder for the impulse, right? And we see this at before, right? If we go to Euro Kiwi, we see the same thing here, right? We see these kind of pattern plays out when it's at the right area. So I'm still very interested in Aussie Swiss. I'm still interested to see what will happen in this correctional structure here. Won't really jump into the trade while it's in this consolidation. Just want to wait for a little bit more development, and then a breakout, and then continuation like so. That is how I would see for the FIT, because I do see lots of risk reward, lots of potential for a potential buy, even just to the top. Very good risk reward already, and then waiting to see what the price will do if it can break out. That is the current condition. That is what I see. Interesting to see what will happen, and that's it. So let's move on. I'm not really looking at any of the yen pairs, I'll be honest. I will go over them, but I think some of you guys asked me about the yen pairs, but I'm not really interested in most of them. I'll explain this why. So afterwards, okay, I have to go through Forex, commodity, and equity Bitcoin. Okay, I mean crypto, I meant. So it's gonna be the very last one, right? But make sure I'll talk about it for sure. Okay. So Aussie yen, if you guys recall, was looking for price is just not continue downwards more. Okay, what I don't like about it, again, very similar like the dollar pairs that we just went over. We didn't break the previous low. The price is already, very corrective. It's not in the impulsive phase anymore, in my opinion. This can just be a longer correctional structure. Continue lower. If you look at the higher time frame, is that this is the impulse, this is the correction. We're supposed to get the next impulse, right? Supposedly, this is how usually price would do, but sometimes it's going to be forming these deeper corrections, right? This is potentially what can happen here. And what is looking like to me personally is that we're getting a bottom here. Okay, price is not breaking this previous low. This can be some sort of inverse head and shoulder once again to reverse the price. That's why I'm not too interested in the sell, and most of these yen pairs, I'm not too interested in what's going to happen here. it is forming some sort of correction, but it's not too clear. Is it going to be a continuation correction or is it going to be a reversal correction? Okay, so better to be on the sideline for this one. Me about this. So Euro Yen, same idea is that when this move didn't happen to the downside, when this was the correction I'm looking at, okay, this was the correction I was looking at, that this could be the impulsive move, this is the correctional structure, and this move did not continue, did not break the previous parallel channel. So not too interesting what's going to happen. What could happen is continue moving up and see what the price would do at the previous top for the sell. Other than that, I don't really won't be jumping into this while it's this correction structure. Like I always said, we want to be making deeper correction or deeper structures. I tend not to be in these kind of trades. Okay, so that's Euro Yen. Pound Yen is another one that you guys asked me about. Let's look at pound yen really quick. Again, very similar. Is that it's going the more it seems that it's going to be moving, the less it's not going to be interesting until when I see a little bit more momentum in the market. Okay. Otherwise, I don't want to get stuck in these again consolidation trap. It can just move down like this and then start going up, and then some of these cells here I'm not interested in at all because they can be short-lived. They can drop down a bit, 20, 30, 40 pips, and then start bouncing up again. And then you will just adjust the structure and nothing wrong with the price action because structurally it's still evolving, it's still changing. They're just going from potential flat kind of structure and nothing changes, right? You can just go down like this and then continue up like this. And still making a structure, still making a continuation structure for this move and still going down. Okay, so you want to be careful when price is in these low, right? Some of these sells, some of these moves may be short-lived and you're just going to get stuck and it will go on like this for a little bit while and then still drop after that. Okay, so I don't want to jump into these. I want to see a little bit more development and happy to be on the sideline waiting for still liking the overall high time frame, right? This is the impulsive move. This is a corrective structure. This is the first impulsive move. Whether we get this continuation correction will be the next down move, okay? And you want to be in the next down move once this correction is over. Okay, so that's pound yen in this area. It's not quite clear what it's doing, okay? I'm not quite clear that this structure can be just evolving to this structure now, and then you're still getting to push up like this. Nothing changes, it's thought, and become something like this, still like a ascending kind of channel structure, and still drop at the end. So again, be a little bit more patient on these ones because structurally, when they evolve, right? When they evolve, you don't want to get stuck in these consolidations. Okay, so that's why I see may get into more favorable as we go on to the week. But for now, I'm not too interested in any of them. Okay, so let's talk about your talking about it, and I see some of you guys are looking at potential long, and I'll go over kind of what I think about it and then see what you guys think of. Personally, and same thing with Aussie Swiss, I still see this as a bearish potential. Okay, and I'll explain my reason behind it. Euro bearish kind of run because we see this kind of price action, right? This is the previous top, just like Aussie Swiss, previous bottom. This is a previous top now. We broke the previous top and then we did not continue upwards. This potentially was a correction to continue, but nope. And then we had a first impulse, second impulse, right? Making this is just one big, one straight impulse on the higher time frame. So you see this big impulse here, and you naturally want to be waiting for some sort of correctional structure to develop here. This is going to give you that confirmation for the continuation sell setup. Similar like a structure, right? You want a structure to develop in some sort of fashion like this, similar kind of length and stuff, and you see this at the head and shoulder. And you see the right shoulder in this area, and then looking for the sell like this, and still be pretty good risk reward. And I see some of you guys as well. I see what you. This is the correction, and this is the impulse. Oh yeah, I do see what you mean, but what is your target? Are you just targeting the recent high? right? Potentially this much risk reward, as long as you think there's enough risk reward, and if that's in your plan, then take it, right? But for me, I would care about what the higher is going to be. Not it's going to be short-lived, because you can just hit a previous top, forming a double top, M style pattern, and still drop like this. Okay, so it's going to be short-lived. You're not going to get as much potential risk reward or the momentum to the top. Whereas I do feel the momentum is where something like this, then I do see the bearish move down to the middle. Okay, so that's why I say on Euro Aussie. So let's continue. Euro Pound. Euro Pound still if you guys recall, last week I was looking at potential. I had the structure draw like this, and I was looking at potential kind of a correctional structure, and it didn't have that breakup, right? It didn't have the confirmation kind of bullish push. Then instead, price evolved into a bigger structure, and then we see the price push down, push up. So this is just something I'm keeping an eye on, because I do see the next potential bullish run on this overall channel structure, and price likely to be making this push one more time, and then from the top for the sell, right? So I'm looking at this potential bullish run, and then waiting for a correctional structure to get in would be ideal. Okay, so this is like a maybe list I have, and I do like the overall price action because we're in this consolidation, okay, but we're in a higher time frame consolidation, right? So I see complete the higher time frame correction, and then potentially from the top here could be a very good sell from here. Okay, so let's talk about Euro Kiwi. If you guys follow me, I made a video on Euro Kiwi on my trade here. If you guys are interested, just make sure you watch this one. It talks about my management on the entries and things like that. So feel free to tune into this. And so what I see on Euro Kiwi, just like what I mentioned in the video, is that we're prices in this area now. Okay, so I'm happy to wait for a little bit of correction to develop here if it's going to push out, and wait for a lower time frame correction to get in. That is how I'm going to get back into Euro Kiwi after the two trades here that I was in. Okay, because I understand that once we're reaching to the low here, potentially price can just come back up here for the I'll be looking for the sell once again. You see, every time when price is at the top, I'm looking for the sell, right? We're looking for a sell here, looking for a sell here, looking for a sell here, because they're going to give you a better risk reward, better a probability for that momentum to push down. But understanding that we're once again at the bottom now, so either way it's possible that we can see the price push up again, and this will confirm pretty much all the Kiwi dollar and Kiwi CAD that you guys are looking at for that bearish move, and then that Euro Kiwi will be the long move, and then once we hit the top, and the same idea, looking for the sell again. All right, but if it's going to continue downwards, start breaking down here, then look for that lower time frame correction and look for the sell down to the lows, and see what will happen from that point forward. Okay? Because ultimately, you're still seeing this as an impulse correction, looking for the next impulse. All right. So that's Euro Kiwi. Let's jump into Kiwi CAD. I think most of you guys are talking about Kiwi CAD in Telegram as well, right? I get that. And you guys are looking for the sell. And that's the question I was referring to. If some of you guys are in Kiwi CAD sell or whatever, don't change your bias just because what I mentioned, right? Because you have to stick to your plan and stick to your management plan. Otherwise, you'll get too emotional when either I'm right or I'm wrong, and that affects your plan, right? That affects your trading, and that's not good. So, focus on what you have, right? You can hear my analysis behind it, but ultimately stick to your plan, right? So Kiwi CAD, last week when the price bullish up from this point, and when it's in this area, I talk about potential bullish activity if it's going to get a continuation correction, right? So what the price is doing here now, it looks like very likely like an ascending channel, very similar like Kiwi dollar that we just went over, and you guys are looking for potential sell, and I do see it's possible. Okay, don't get me wrong. All right, what I'm just seeing from what price has been doing is that I see this as the first potential impulse up, and we're in this kind of a descending kind of pair structure, correcting the price down. And latest price action, we had this head and shoulder pattern and then strong bearish push down, right? And then there was no reversal correction to push down any lower. Instead, pretty much just completed this overall structure and push up to the top and looking for continue up. Okay, just because this is a standing channel structure very clearly, yes, everyone knows that this is usually a reversal kind of correctional structure, but doesn't mean that it has to go down, right, guys? Doesn't mean that every time where you see a standing channel structure that has to go down, it can correct a little bit more and start forming like this and potentially push up, right? I see that happening a lot as well, or actually just start pushing up like this. That's also a possibility. So remember I made a video about when you see a correction, all you want to know is it a continuation correction or if it's a it's either or, there's no other way, right? It's either going to continue this move, so impulse, correction, impulse, or it becomes a reversal, so impulse, correctional structure, reversal, and then reverse impulse down, right? That's all you have to care about. So for now, it's not Kiwi dollar that we went over. Is it going to start dropping? Well, wait for that first drop out, right? Wait for a complete breakout and then wait for a correction. It's just going to be safer, right, guys? Even if it develops some sort of ascending channel here now, which probably some of you bounce up here and take you out right off like this, and then structurally still going up for a little bit and then still dropping, right? You will be mad at yourself that you might enter one trade here and then one trade here, and then they end up taking some of your money and you end up not entering the Kiwi CAD trade and a potential sell. Okay, so that's why I see on Kiwi CAD. If you're looking for sell, same thing with Kiwi dollar I mentioned. Wait for the breakout will be more ideal for the sell. Alternatively, if you're seeing it, how I'm seeing it for the potential buy, then just wait for a little bit more, right? So let's move on to Kiwi Swiss. Kiwi Swiss very similar like Euro Kiwi, right? It's very identical. On a higher time frame, very similar idea like that I'm seeing that I'm still seeing this as a potential impulse up, and we have this larger correctional structure, and we potentially see an inverse head and shoulder pattern. It's just the right shoulder stretches on so long it can be a parallel channel. And then if we zoom down here, same idea as Euro Q that we see, right? Impulse, correction, impulse, forming a right shoulder here, continuation correction, inverse head and shoulder becomes the price action now and continue upwards. Right? We see these kind of price over and over again. Price can start as an inverse head and shoulder, becomes a regular, and become again, right? That's how price action works. But ultimately, if we zoom out on a higher time frame, the higher time frame is always going to give you more clarity on what the price might do in the going forward, right? You have this inverse head and shoulder, you have this overall impulsive move, correction, and waiting for the next. I think it was a few months ago, at least during the COVID time, I was more looking at impulse, correction, and impulse. That was kind of what I was looking at, right? Even if the structure evolves a little bit, I was still see this potential drop out, but instead, price, developing the structure. The structure is telling you, right? I don't see much bearish price action. I see this as an overall higher time frame correction for this move, and this is just a correction for this move as well. So if we can get this breakout and then more correction to get in the long run. All right. So that's Kiwi Swiss. Let's go over Pound Aussie. I think some of you guys are in Pound Aussie, so good. Pound Aussie, if you guys got in from the top, I think it's great. Even I didn't get in this, but I made it ability for the sell. So I do see there's possibility for continuation now. Okay, so going down to just the lower time frame, see what the price is doing. There was a previous kind of a double top, price broke above in this kind of ascending channel. I remember some of you guys asked development in the structure, which it did, so which is good. You have this ascending channel, and if you zoom in, there's a ascending channel within the ascending channel, right? So structure within the larger structure, all very good positive confluence. You have the structure here, you have this head and shoulder, price bearish drop out of the structure, which is good. And I was looking to see what it will do in this area. I was kind of see if price can push up and then form me a structure like this. Then I can look for a sell. But instead, it started pushing down. But I'm sure some of you guys got in on here or even here, so that's good. If I was to looking to get in now and I want to see price potentially push up, you can see this is potentially for the lower time frame push up, and price can continue upwards, which is good because now you can form a little bit bigger structure now, and then looking for a sell from the top like this and making this a impulse correction impulse. So this is a more expanding kind of structure, but still correcting for this move and then looking for the next sell. That's Pound Aussie. I do see Pound Aussie is pretty good. Okay, Pound Aussie is my favorite one out of all the pound, to be honest. Not even Pound Kiwi made my maybe list. I think Pound Aussie is better, but just waiting for a development here. Because higher time frame wise, we're at the top of the overall correction now, potential correction structure. So if it's going to form a correction here for the sell, then I do see this at least to the previous low and potentially continue lower. Pound Aussie, and let's go Pound Kiwi last. Pound Kiwi is just a better one that I personally got in, and there was no point kind of jumping to Pound Kiwi as well if I already in Euro Kiwi. So Pound Kiwi this is where the price is at. We're approaching to this previous low now, so don't look for any sell here. Let it see what price will do when it reaches out of this structure now. Then but looking for the sell as I would say, right? But if you zoom out a little bit more, you're pretty much at the bottom of this overall higher time frame channel as well now. So you don't want to get stuck in here, and price can just be very erratic and just all very easy. Pound pairs, their spreads usually are bigger, and if you have tighter stop loss, you might get tagged out easily. So what it's likely to do now is, if it's going to start breaking out of the structure, then let it break out the structure and get in afterwards, right? Let it break out, let it form a correction here. Okay, safer side, because you know that's the confirmation. Look for the confirmation correction and get in the sell. All right. So that is it, guys. That is all Forex I'm talking about. Any questions on anything here? Happy to go over them before I jump into gold and then crypto after. Once it's on YouTube or on TradingView, right? So good. That is all the currency. So any questions on those? If not, let's jump into commodity really quick. Just gold I really want to quickly talk about. I think gold is on everyone. Let's talk about gold. Let's talk about from higher time frame this time, and I still want to just give you guys a heads up on how I see on gold is that whatever it's going to decide to do here on the lower time frame, continue lower or whatever. So you had the strong impulse up, you've had these correction, it can just start going lower, but once the correction is finished or whatever, you can still see the next bullish run. Okay, so keep that in mind because that is how gold has been moving. If you look at since 18, right? So just looking because of coronavirus, because of the market condition, the correction is longer and deeper and wider. But once it's finished, still expecting it to go. Okay, so that's higher time frame. Let's go to lower time frame. You guys looking for a sell out of here? I do see the sell at least to the lows here, if not continue lower. Maybe the structure start becoming a wider structure now, breaking this previous low and see what happened to the lows to this area. But if you're trying to get into me what the price is doing, it's not too clear. Yes, this was the impulse, this was the correction, but it wasn't as clear because you're still in this overall structure channel. So waiting for just waiting for a little bit more confirmation. That's what I would do. Waiting for then would be ideal for the sell as long as you understand the risk that the risk reward here is short. It's short, right? It's not going to be too much. You're planning to hold the sell longer period of time and continue lower, right? Your target would be more. Nice. So let's continue. Let's continue. That's gold. Okay. So that's what I see on gold. I'm not seeing too much on the indices, I'll point out a few ones that I'm looking at that is a little talk about NASDAQ, and I'll share my idea on NASDAQ is that this is a correction nevertheless, but it's not too clear on is this going to be a reversal correction, so impulse reversal correction back to the top and then sell like this, or is this going to be a continuous correction to put? Okay, that's why I'm just trying to not stay in these kind of trades. So we let the price develop a little bit more before looking for either way up, right? Because this correction here, again, is it going to reverse or is it going to continue? It's a little bit unclear, okay? Consolidation, this correctional structure where really you can argue both ways makes sense, right? So wait for a little bit more confirmation would be better, okay? And that's pretty much it for indices. I don't see too much on the ones I'm looking at. Let's go over crypto last. About Bitcoin link that I'm currently in, and we'll talk about what my thoughts on these moving forward. Okay. U.S. oil, yeah, I'll talk about U.S. oil actually. It didn't fall into my watch list because I'm not seeing too much. Okay. I know. I think I saw at least other people's posts that they're looking for a potential sell. Um, I mean, if you're looking for a potential sell, are you looking for a kind of correctional structure here to develop? Because we broke the previous low, which is good. So is it going to develop a correction to push down lower? But you have to understand that if someone's looking for a sell to the lows, is it going to be enough risk reward before hitting this low and then start bouncing up again? Because I see these swing lows of the price. The way how this risk reward may not be enough. And I don't like this overall consolidation. This kind of correction is kind of wide, it's swinging. Okay, originally when this impulse happened, I was looking for a continuation correction to develop. Okay, but the longer and this deeper it goes, the more, as I say to other ones, that the more this structure can go. Right, you can see this that can happen. Right, who say that price will just hit the low and then continue upward, hit the high, and then continue just being this consolidation for an X period of time. And I don't want to get stuck in something like this. Okay, I'd rather wait for a little bit. If you're going to go for a sell, then wait, let it to break the previous low, wait for some sort of correction structure, then sell it to the next previous low. Okay, but for now, I'm not happy to not touch it. Hey, no problem. So let's talk about Bitcoin really quick. Some of you guys asked me this privately about Bitcoin. I didn't get into this Bitcoin, by the way, but I do think, I think some of you guys, well, if you got in this, then good job. You enter at this correction. Then, in my opinion, this is going to develop into another correction here. But how big, how long, how wide, of course, not clear yet. Okay, so waiting for a little bit more development here would be more ideal. I would at least and then see what price will do in this area. Is it going to develop something here? I'll wait for a little bit, but what I'm seeing here on a higher time frame is that we broke the previous high. We're pretty much at this the one stop short before the all-time high, right? So understand how when the price is heading to that previous high again, there's a lot of people who are looking for short, right? A lot of market, a lot of traders. So you have to understand what the majority of people are thinking is that okay, they're gonna hit the top and they're gonna start dropping, right? Or they're gonna think once they break the top, it's gonna. This is volatile. I'm sorry. Just like gold, when they break the previous highs, when it's approaching this area, you're gonna get two types of trade or two types of people. They're either going to be long or they're either going to be short, right? So that's when the market is going to be very indecisive in this area, very volatile, catching a lot of traders hitting their stop losses, right? And then people say the brokers or whatever. But the point is because the market in this area is very consolidated. There's a lot of buyers and there's a lot of sellers, right? So be careful if you're going to be holding the buy because once it hit the previous top, likely to see a little bit more volatility in that area. Okay, So that's Bitcoin. Let's go through Ethereum. Very similar kind of structure. We push up on this overall correction, so that's good. And looking for a buy here would be ideal. It's forming that correction structure as well, right? You have the impulse potential here to push. So I do see this as a potential buy to the top if you're interested. I personally won't be interested because I'm in one of these trades. I'm in Link. Those of you guys, I think someone asked me about Link on Telegram, so I mentioned this was the trade I got in. If you guys been following me, I mentioned about this is the overall correctional structure for this impulse move, and then and buying, once the structure break out, once we see this descending channel impulse, parallel channel impulse, and then flag structure here. Okay, so we see this impulse on the lower time frame, and naturally I will be looking for a lower time frame continuation correction, and this is that continuation correction. I waited for one more confirmation from the market, a little small correction from the lower time frame. I just set my stop loss below the. This is the trade I talk about that I will take over and over again. We have this impulse on the higher time frame, large higher time frame correction, first impulse out, and looking for that correction here to continue the trade. Okay, so that's Link. Last one, OMG. Still like the price action. It's a little bit slow. Okay, it's a little bit slow what it's trying to do. But latest price action could be something for the potential push up. And I still like because we're in the stalling kind of area. Okay, we're not going any lower. Price is pretty corrected. Lower time frame. The correctional structure here is still very likely that we're going to get the next buy. All right. So that is it, guys. That is all the crypto I'm looking at. Happy to answer any questions or any pairs that you guys are looking at. I'll go over time for some Q&A if you have any. Oh, you guys are quiet today, huh? Did I answer everything? Usually I'll get some questions that I get on my answer. Euro yen, dollar yen, sorry. I did talk about dollar yen, but I can talk about it again. I'm not too interested in it. I mentioned that maybe some of you guys are looking at because that we see this impulsive move or we're seeing a potential correctional structure and looking for the next sell. And I mentioned the only thing that's throwing this off is that your potential sell is short-lived because you're at the previous low already. So the risk reward may, and again, because of dollar and because of yen, when the dollar is strong, the yen is strong, and I didn't want to trade them. And if it's going to be weak now, I certainly don't want to trade them either. That's pretty much why I'm staying away. I don't like this overall price action that it's making. Very on a higher time frame kind of note. Of course, there is some trades that you could potentially capitalize on, but I don't like this price condition. It's very choppy to me. Not too much structure, so to speak. I'm not seeing too much as something that I can capitalize on. Okay, so that's why on dollar yen, that's my thoughts on it. Do you go into stocks? Mostly only blue chip stocks that I focus to buy and sell, like trading. Okay, I do see a few things I could point on stock. For example, Apple. Mentioned about this in one of the posts here is that I do like a potential buy in Apple. If this is the impulse, this is good. But because this is more of a short-term trade, I don't see this as a long-term hold. That's why I'm not too interested into that. I would be into trades such as Nike, which is a trade I'm still in, from the bottom, from the still looking pretty good. We're still continue upwards. This is something that I would hold, right? Because looking at the higher time frame, you had this impulse, you had this pretty much a reverse impulse from the COVID. This was the COVID time. You had this impulse, you had this time frame correction from the higher time frame correction. And that is where I always want to get into a trade. And this was the second buy possibility that I talk about. I think some of you guys got into this one that someone mentioned to me. This was a clear buy setup to me. But because I was in this already, I'm happy to keep, I was in this another trade because I'm holding the trade for long term, right? That's how I do for blue chip stocks. What else? Was looking at Netflix. Was looking at Netflix, but you see how price broke to the top. Just broke the previous top, but there was no continuation correction to continue, and that's why it was kind of something that I stay out of that. Now that I can see that the structure is potentially evolving a little bit more, and if it can continue lower, finding a bottom here, I potentially the buy setup would be nice, because again we're had this impulsive move and we're in a large continuation structure looking for the next buy. Okay, so that's Netflix. Tesla, same thing, looking for a buy, but looked like price can continue a little bit longer now. So I was looking originally that this was the original buy that I got in, but was able to get out after when price dropped down. But I see this as an impulse. This is a large correction, looking for the next impulsive move and large continuation correction to push the price up. But for now, I'm not seeing too much. That's why I'm happy to stay out for this one. And that's what a Zoom was one of the trades I mentioned. I didn't get into this one, but if you got into this one, good, because it had to push up to the previous top. This was the area that I would take profit anyways. And if it starts dropping down here, then looking for a deeper structure to develop, right? This can be developing into a little bit more ascending channel formation and looking for the correction structure. But for now, not too much to see. So that is a few stocks I'm looking at in terms of what I see for the upcoming. Dollar, Mexico dollar, yeah, pesos. On a 1 hour chart, personally, I do see a potential out of this. Okay, I didn't put it in my list because I pretty much want to what I would love to see. Okay, not hoping is what I love to see is can just continue trickles down a little bit more to this previous bottom here. Okay, if it can getting squeezed to the bottom here, I do think that first buy would be very impressive. Okay, for this buy here, I'm not looking into the sell. I do see this is a squeeze channel or a falling wedge, whatever it is. It's very clear to me. It's a reversal structure. Okay, it's not yet ready. I want to see it break the bottom. Okay, if this start continuing to the top, I'm not likely to be too interesting. Okay, I want to see continue break and then continue. That would be a much more good buy for me personally. Higher time frame wise, if it hit the bottom, push to the top, and then looking for the sell would be ideal. Okay, so that's what I see on dollar peso. So I think that's it, guys. That is it. Unless you guys are seeing anything else you want me to go over. That's all I'm seeing for thus far. But I will do a weekly outlook. Not weekly. I will do a daily times next day or two or so. Hopefully, either in a London session or in a New York session. I will post the links in Telegram. So feel free to keep in touch with that. But for now, I'm not in any trades, by the way. I'm not in any trades. I exit already. So I'm not in any trades. Feel free to check my FX book for that. I'm not in any trades and looking to see what will happen this week. Okay, and go from there. All right. But for now, happy to be on the sideline. Like I said, most of the pairs I want to see a little bit more development. should not be careful because price can develop into a longer structure. Kiwi dollar is probably the only one that I do think it could be ready today. But like I said, waiting for the confirmation breakout would be more ideal. And dollar CAD, same thing, waiting for that breakout and then waiting for a confirmation. But I'm likely just going to choose one now because they're uh, just the base, just the latest price action I've been seeing on the dollar and yen, because I did take a few losses on them as well this week. But I do feel that it's a little bit erratic on the pairs, so I want to be a little bit more careful. Favorable, looking for a correction here. And Euro Aussie, very similar, is just mimicking Aussie Swiss, right? Looking for the sell. And Euro Kiwi, waiting for a correction here to break out. Looking for a lower time frame here would be more ideal. Okay, so I think that's it. No other ones I'm looking at. Yep. So that is it, guys. So very happy to see you guys, and hope to chat with you guys next time. Okay. So if you guys were late, feel free to rewatch it on YouTube review. All right. So thank you very much, and see you guys next time. And have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.